Kicking things off at numero uno is the Hover Lover. Artificer's passive ability, the Hover, is activated while she is in the air, either after falling from height or jumping, and then holding down on the jump button. In the case of PC, the spacebar. This activates her jetpack, which, although it doesn't actually propel you upwards at all, unlike a certain jetpack in the criminally underrated early 2000s masterpiece release for GameCube and PlayStation 2, Bounty Hunter, it does a great job of drastically slowing down Artificer's descent and makes it a breeze to cruise on through the maps, zooting up and mitigating any fall damage. The real benefit of the Hover, other than fall damage protection, lies in the fact that most enemies are absolute dog buns at targeting you while you're in the air. Now you can use this knowledge like Biff Tannen using the 1950 to 2000 Sports Almanac and bully ground-bound Beatles and Lemurians worse than George McFly at a 1955 small-town diner after ordering chocolate milk. At numero dos, we have the Fly Me to the Moon. Building off of tip number one, if you want to play among the stars and find out what spring is like on Petrichor 5, then what you want to do is make it your number one priority to unlock Artificer's alternate utility skill, the Ion Surge. Although this ability does not have the damage output of the flamethrower, it is just miles better in terms of overall versatility while still doing a little bit of damage. This is because it makes up for Hover's lack of upwards propulsion and shoots you straight up to the sky. This blast off that makes NASA and SpaceX jealous damages nearby enemies and can be used to great effect for escaping any sticky situations that Artificer might find herself in. The true potential of Ion Surge, though, is the fact that it can be chained together with Hover for infinite flying. That's right, you'll be blasting off again more often than Team Rocket on a Saturday morning Pokemon Marathon on the Kids WB, and then after your initial Ion Surge ascent, you can use Hover in the meantime until the ability recharges, racking up more frequent flyer miles than a Capital One Venture card, what's in your wallet. And furthermore, you can use this tech to make Mr. Sinatra proud and skip the pillars on commencement and literally fly to the moon, showing up a little earlier than expected to Mithrix's abode and use your infinite aerial uptime to rain down a firestorm, dealing more psychological damage to your enemies than calling in an AC-130 in a 1v1 on Rust against your 7-year-old younger brother. Mi dispiace, fratellino. For numero tres, we have the Ice Ice Baby. Both Artificer's utility skill Snap Freeze, which summons a wall of ice, and her alternate secondary skill Cast Nanospear, aka the Arrow of Ice, are unique in the fact that they freeze enemies in place, immobilizing them, as well as instantly execute any enemies whose health bar is under the 30% threshold. Unfortunately, the insta-kill and freezing effect of these two abilities does not work on bosses. However, it is still extremely useful for dealing with hard-to-kill, tanky enemies, especially of the elite variety. These two abilities make up the backbone of Artificer's high damage output. However, this is counteracted by the fact that they have rather lengthy cooldowns. Lucky for you though, there's a way to protect the Dota way of life and prepare for the Ice Age by stocking up on melons. And by melons, I mean backup mag and hard light afterburner. These two items, the backup mag, which grants an additional charge to the secondary skill, the Ice Spear, as well as the hard light afterburner, which is a legendary red item, which grants you an additional 2 charges of the utility Snap Freeze, are absolutely busted on Artificer. To dish even more damage with these Taekwondo techniques, make sure to also pick up the Runald and Kajaros bands and the crowbar for maximum output of nutty damage. Numero cuatro, a message to Mithrix. You know how before I mentioned that you can't freeze bosses using Artificer's ice abilities? Well, that fact might not pass the Snopes certification test. In reality, one of the most busted things about Artificer is the fact that her ice abilities work on the boss, the king of nothing, Mithrix himself. That means that you can both freeze him in his tracks as well as instantly execute him if his health is at 30% or below if you hit him with one of these ice attacks. And this works for each of his phases. And out of the utmost personal feelings of shame and guilt of deceiving my audience, I'm going to try to make amends with you all and pass the rest of this tip over to Pillar of the Risk of Rain 2 community, Rhombus, so he can explain to you what in fact the message to Mithrix is.
Sorry. Stop the music. A message to Mithrix. Eat shit, kid. Eat shit and die. You are dog buns.
Numero 5 is the Flameo Hotman. When playing as Artificer, I'd strongly recommend rocking the Flame Bolt primary skill over the Ion Bolt. This is because the Flame Bolt comes with the baked-in Ignite ability, which is the same fire debuff that is granted by items such as Gasoline. Although it does not have the explosion radius of the Plasma Bolt, the Flame Bolt does more damage over time, and also this debuff counts for one of the 4 required for triggering the Deathmark Green item. The biggest benefit of the Flame ability though is the fact that your run can instantly change everything more than when the Fire Nation attacked if you so happen to come across the Ignition Tank Green item. This Bad Larry is the equivalent of Sozin's Comet and instantly quadruples the damage of any abilities with the Ignite Flame skill. That means the Flame Bolt, any Gasoline you have, the Molten Perforator, Molotov, they instantly get a quadruple damage boost, and heck, this even includes the Flamethrower special ability that I was dogging on before. And although personally I'm totally Ion Surge pilled, if you really want to let Artificer cook and start more fires than a gender reveal party hosted by a California couple in 2020, then rockin' the double fire build that's Flame Bolt and Flamethrower is the move for you. However, I'm still rolling with Ion Surge all day, baby. Lastly, a little bonus. This is Artificer's item Emporium. While she was frozen in time, chilling in her crystal cage next to everybody's favorite blue donut slinging Newt King Cole, Artificer was probably thinking about some things. And some of those things were probably which items are best for me to become absolutely busted on these runs. And starting off with the white items, what you want to look for is the backup magazine, as mentioned before, which grants an additional charge to your secondary skill, which is straight up busted on the Ice Spear. And if you're a total jabroni and rocking the Ion Blast or whatever it's called, that's how often I use that one because it's trash, then it's still good for that as well. Other than that, you want to keep your eyes peeled for Paul's Goat Hoof and the Soda Can, which are great mobility items since Artificer is a little bit lacking in the speed department. And if you aren't running Ion Surge, she's really at a disadvantage in the mobility sphere. Another big white item pickup is the Crowbar, which deals additional damage to any enemies above 90% health, and this synergizes great with any of the ice abilities for getting enemies down to that 30% threshold in one shot. Combining this with the Runald and Kajaros bands is simply the chef's kiss. Next up, since we already started moving on to the grand items, the Bandolier is a huge pickup, especially since all of Artificer's abilities are on cooldowns, and the Bandolier grants a chance for any enemy killed to drop an ammo pack, which instantly resets all cooldowns. Speaking of cooldowns, one of the best red items that Artificer can find is the Alien Head, which drastically reduces the cooldown of each of her skills by 25%. Another item that's so nice that I'm gonna mention it twice is the Hardlight Afterburner, which grants an additional 3 charges to the utility skill and makes her ice wall unstoppable. You can straight up spam this on Mithrix and just cheese him, freezing him over and over again. And keeping with the theme of additional charges for the abilities, the Lysate Cell, the Void variant of the Fuel Cell, grants an additional charge per each stack for the special abilities. So either the Flamethrower or the Ion Surge. And last but not least, rounding things off is the H3AD ST-V2, aka the Head Stompies. These moon shoes that share the same naming convention as Elon Musk's children are absolutely busted in the hands of Artificer, especially with Ion Surge. This is because the Head Stompies grant you additional jump height, and also when you hold the interact key while you're in the air, you come slamming down from the heavens like Nacho Libre from the top rope and do an absurd amount of damage. This is even more broken with Ion Surge hover combo, since the amount of damage that you do with this Slamma-Jamma attack is directly proportional to the height from which you fall. Unlike eating raw eagle eggs after climbing a oceanside cliff in Mexico, these powers granted by the Head Stompies are the real deal. Anyways, that's pretty much it. Let me know any of your Artificer tips down below. Thanks for tuning on in, and we'll catch you next time. Adios, amigos.